Hello, welcome to Porch Chats. I'm Colleen Condon, chair of the Charleston County Democratic Party, and we're continuing our series to let you get to know our candidates. With us today, we have Sam Skardon. Welcome, Sam.
Hi, Colleen. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So how are you doing this beautiful afternoon?
Doing wonderfully. We're recording this on a Friday afternoon. I'm very excited. And full disclosure, this is not my porch. It is a beautiful porch, but like so many people in our district, I live next door to a construction site. And so our porch has a lot of construction noise. So we're over at a friend's house right now, borrowing their porch.
It is a beautiful porch, though.
It is, yes. Thank you. And we're keeping our distance here, and they gave us the space and being safe and responsible about it too.
Perfect. Well, we are lucky to have you running for Senate District 41. Can you tell us some of the important issues that you're going to be able to address when you get elected?
Yeah, I'd love to, Colleen. Let's start with the obvious and the most pressing right now is the pandemic that we're all facing, and the healthcare crisis component of it and the economic crisis component of it. First of all, I think this just sheds light on how much we need to be investing in healthcare in our state. We haven't expanded Medicaid. There are 164,000 South Carolinians without health insurance that would be covered if we expanded Medicaid. So those are people who are hesitant to see a doctor, even if they have some symptoms. It's going to be very expensive, very difficult for them to see a doctor. And by simply one stroke of the pen, we could fix that. So that's one of the biggest issues in our state right now. We've underfunded DHEC for years. That's coming back to bite us right now, unfortunately. And then on the economic side, that's actually what I do every day. My day job is small business lending. I work for a nonprofit whose mission is access to capital. We lend to businesses and entrepreneurs that banks won't lend to, which tends to be women-owned, minority-owned, veteran-owned businesses, people who are coming from neighborhoods that don't meet the credit criteria, don't have the history that banks like to see, and therefore denied access to capital that lets them build wealth. So every day I go to work trying to fix that problem, and it's an even more acute problem right now. We have 107 local businesses in the eastern half of South Carolina that we've funded that are trying to figure out how they're going to make it. So we're working on providing them resources, trying to help them get through this crisis and develop a plan to come out of it hopefully stronger and stable and more successful than before.
Now, are you able to help with those folks with PPP loans, for example?
We've been doing a lot of that, yes. We are not a PPP lender, but we work with a lot of PPP lenders. So got good relationships around town. We've sent a lot of referrals. We've coached a lot of people on their applications and getting through the process. And I am happy to share that expertise outside of it. So if anyone is having an issue with their PPP loan or the SBA in general, they can always reach out to us, sam@samskardon.com. Happy to extend that expertise to anybody in our district and around the state who needs help right now.
Yeah, it really seems like the least of these who the PPPs were intended for aren't necessarily the ones getting the money.
Exactly. And I will credit both of our local congressmen here, Congressman Clyburn and Congressman Cunningham, in the second round of PPP. They took a little bit of a political risk, and they held out to toughen those standards on who gets the money, and it worked a little better the second time around. It's not perfect, but Congressman Clyburn and Congressman Cunningham, the Democrats in Congress, deserve a lot of credit for making it a little better the second time around.
We are lucky to have them on our side, no question about it.
Yeah.
Well, Sam, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah. So let's. I'll start with growing up here. I grew up in the Low Country. I went to Charleston County Public Schools, and to be honest, that's one of the things that motivates me to run today. I grew up here 2-3 decades ago, and we're fighting the same fights, trying to deal with the same issues that we were back then. And not only have they not gotten better, in a lot of cases they've gotten worse. Our traffic's gotten worse. Our climate has changed without us responding to it or even acknowledging that we could be responding to it. Our public schools are still at the bottom of every list, and the disparities are growing both in terms of education and economics. So growing up here and seeing that evolution over time is one of the things that motivates me to run and want to do something about it. We also have a golden opportunity here in the 41st District. We can actually make a difference on these issues. Our state Senate has a huge amount of power to pass policies and legislation and actually be leaders in addressing each of those issues I talked about. We just have to elect people who want to be leaders on them. And these these seats that we have are so gerrymandered. They're hardly ever competitive. They're hardly ever winnable. They hardly ever change hands. In the 41st district, we actually do have a seat that is ripe for changing hands. It's Republican held right now. It has been Republican held for decades. But Congressman Cunningham won by 15 points here. James Smith, running for governor, won by 7 points. So this is one of those extremely rare and important opportunities to have new leadership in Columbia who actually wants to make our state a leader on each of those important issues.
Agreed. So why should we elect you, Sam?
That's a great question. I'd talk about the personal experience. Our district, we're West Ashley, James Island, Johns Island, North Charleston, Somerville. It's a working district. I mean, we have a lot of families here who are struggling to save up for their first house. A lot of people paying off their student loan debts and sending their kids to public schools because they don't have the income to send them to private schools. These are the people who are sitting in traffic because they can't afford to live anywhere near where they work. And what I just described is the experience of me and my wife, Leslie. We were paying our student loans. We're struggling to save for a down payment on a house. Those are the kinds of experiences that really matter in our district that almost no one in our state Senate, especially not our current elected leaders, are experiencing. And I think someone who brings that urgency to the table, brings that background to the table of having experienced the challenges themselves of the district is really important. I'll add two things too. We mentioned I worked in small business lending.
Right.
Having that business background to get things done, I think, is really important. There's a pragmatic side to having a business degree and working every day with entrepreneurs that is really important. I believe strongly and I have really deep-rooted values that align with a lot of Democratic issues. But at the end of the day, we need leaders who get things done. And I think that business experience I can bring to the table will be helpful in that. And then I'll go one more step is my experience working for Congressman John Lewis. I left here, went to school here, high school here, went over to college in Atlanta, Georgia, and got connected with a congressman from Atlanta over there, Mr. Lewis, who's a great civil rights hero and a great leader in the
Absolutely.
U.S. Congress now. And that experience working for Mr. Lewis, I did a lot of policy research for him. I did a lot of constituent services for him. Really knowing how those things work inside and out is a great balance of experience with my business background that I think I'm excited to put to work in our state Senate, and I hope will serve our district very well.
I think we're lucky to have somebody who's worked on other campaigns and understands politics. So
Thanks.
I think we're lucky to have your experience.
Thank you, Colleen. And we're lucky to have yours as our chair, too. I want to compliment you on the work you're doing right now and throughout this entire cycle with our party.
That's very kind. With so many great candidates, it's important to make sure we're able to get the word out to folks. So how should people reach out to you, Sam, if they want to get to talk to you or volunteer to help?
Yeah, thank you, Colleen. A couple things. Easiest is our website, samskardon.com. You spell Skardon, Skardon, so just samskardon.com. Invite you to email me, sam@samskardon.com. Those are two of the best ways to do it. We need a lot of things right now. We have a Democratic primary coming up on June the 9th, so we need volunteers to help us reach out to voters. There's a lot of people need to know there's a primary, and they need to know we got a good, serious, quality campaign going here that we want them to know about. And so we need volunteers to help us get on the phones and tell people that. We need contributions because reaching out to folks can get expensive when you're putting stuff in the mail and on the radio and in the newspaper. So we need people to help us do that and spread the word to your friends and family too. So you can do all of it at samskardon.com, learn more about me and our campaign and our issues.
Wonderful, Sam. Well, thanks for joining me this afternoon. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Colleen. Been a pleasure.